So I'm going to record the webinar that we have here. So I think everybody is looking forward to having the recording. And I'll go ahead and we are recording. So if you can hear my voice in the chat section here, go ahead and just let me know that you can hear me. Okay. And if you are just joining me, then welcome. I'm Matthew Scott. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. I can hear you with a loud and thunderous. That's great. What I will do is make sure that you guys have handouts. I will make sure that everything that you need as far as follow-up, you're going to have that. And here's the good news. We will get started on time. So if you're a big fan of wanting to get started on time, just type 1 in the chat section below. Good deal. All right. All right. I'm getting some 1s here. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Miss Gurley, Miss Melissa, Fred. I recognize some doctors on here. That's always good. And what I have just done is I've provided in the chat section for you, for those of you at the end of this that want to contact me, you can do so and set up a time. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take the camera off so that that way you will be able to hear me at a better window here. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to open up the PDF in which I'm going to present from. And one of the things that you'll notice in this recording is that you will have a header of this. So you'll be able to see this, okay? So I just wanted to make sure that that you know that everything that you see here is available for you. And you should be able to see my screen now. So if you'll do me a favor and in the chat section, just simply let me know that you can see the slides and we're getting started. People can join us along the way and you can just simply put in the chat section, I see the slides, and we're going to get started. Okay. So go ahead and give me confirmation if you would, please. All right. So if you are joining me and you can hear me, you're in the right place. I'm Matthew Scott, and we are going to be talking about a private practice post-COVID marketing plan. We're going to split this up. I will be right on the button. I will be timely. So for those of you that are interested in webinars that start on time and that finish on time, this is going to be the right place for you. In part, the way that I think about webinars like this, to be honest with you, is geared towards the fact that I've been to so many webinars where they just go on and on and on, not really telling me anything that is practical that I can take home. But for you, we're definitely going to be able to avoid that. So I want to welcome everybody here. I recognize some new faces and some familiar faces. All right. So for today, we're going to talk about 2 different aspects. The first point that I'm going to talk about is the why and how most private practice, surgical practices primarily, how they are governed by marketing principles that honestly have not changed in more than 50 years. And then I'm going to deliver an actual campaign idea. You can, if you're a surgeon, you can take this and run with it. It will absolutely meet you in kind of that demand that you have, where you turn the lights on, you're ready to start caring for your patients. You've got 30 days in front of you, and you want to begin the process of growing in brand awareness, attracting more ideal patients, and then honestly bringing revenue to your practice. So I'll give you the actual presentation on that. And then you'll notice that in the handouts that you receive, you'll have access to this slide deck. You'll have access to the actual campaign that I'm going to deliver. So this particular slide here should be no surprise to any of you. If you're a private practice surgeon, especially in areas such as orthopedic spine, neurosurgery, sports medicine, the revenue hit that our practices have taken as a result of, the pause or the shutdown of elective surgery has been devastated. It breaks my heart to get phone calls from surgeons that we represent and learn how they're having to lay off staff or they're having to furlough staff. And I know what a tough leadership decision that is. And I know what a necessary decision it can be. So I love this quote by General Shinseki. If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. In the chat section, do me a favor. For those history buffs that have joined me, in the chat section, tell me who that is in the backdrop. Yes, it's true, I've got a blue filter on there, but bonus points if you can tell me the historical figure in the background of this particular slide. And I'll give you about 5 seconds, 10 seconds tops to see if we've got any history aficionados on the chat section. But if you know who that is and you can see through the filter, go ahead and type that in the chat message. Boom. David Smith. Fred Dinesco, Napoleon. You are absolutely right. So here's why this is relevant. We tell our doctors that you need to be more like Columbus and less like Napoleon. Here's what that means. If you're a history buff, you know that Napoleon hunkered down and he fought turf wars, whereas Columbus, he left and established new turf, new territories. And so if you're a surgeon and you're listening to me now, if you buy into the premise that the specialist within your specialty attracts the most ideal patients and has the least patient acquisition cost, then this webinar is definitely for you. And I'll talk more about that premise. Here is where we have seen that surgeons in private practice kind of resist. This goes to my point about how branding really hasn't evolved with surgeons. And it's understandable, right? I mean, surgeons have not been trained in branding. They may have an awareness of marketing, but it tends to be default or perfunctory marketing. So what we're talking about is leading with brand positioning, brand strategy, and then tactically delivering marketing. In my experience of working with private practice surgeons since 1989, here's what I've learned. There tends to be a mentality of we should be full service. I mentioned this terminology of becoming the specialist in their specialty. Would you believe me if I told you that we have a software and every month we have hundreds of thousands of patient feedback and patient reviews? And here is what I've learned over the years of collecting this patient insight and intelligence. Patients do not wake up in the morning, yawn, get out of bed in pain and go, oh, I definitely need to find a full service orthopedic practice. You know what? They are looking for the specialist in their specialty. Now, as surgeons, the default mentality is I'm going to leave patients off the table. I'm going to lose business if I go down the pathway of becoming a specialist in my specialty. Don't think so narrowly. I'm not talking about you having to choose one procedure. Rather, I'm going to give you a way in which you can think of yourself in a broader branded term so that you can get noticed, so that you can attract more ideal patients because you have a unique perspective, a unique point of view, a unique process that turns into a branded proprietary procedural protocol. So I think you're going to really enjoy that mentality. The second thing I notice is that doctors will throw a ton of money at search engine optimization. Now, there is a time and a place for search engine optimization, but typically it's later rather than earlier. So what I've learned is that doctors will throw money at trying to be found in the way that patients are searching instead of beginning the branding process with articulating what they stand for, how that is unique, why they do what they do, so that they cut through the commodity language of other people in their territory and in their specialty. So what we tell people is learn to be heard before you throw money at being found. And then the third challenge and opportunity is there tends to be this commodity jargon that surgeons use, which puts the emphasis on being better. I've got more training. I use the latest in technology. We care about our patients the way that we would treat our family. And I always, as recent as today, my man Joe is on this and he can testify to this, that I always come back with compared to what, doctor? Compared to using outdated technology? Compared to not treating your patients like they were family? Minimally invasive compared to what? Leaving a big gaping hole in my back? I know that that's tongue in cheek, but you get the idea that we must help surgeons understand that better is not better, but being authentically different is better. So I'm going to give you my modern definition of branding. If you're a doctor and you're listening to me right now, here's the modern definition of branding as we define it. Doctor, it's who you say you are, who your patients say you are, and who Google says you are. Now, you'll notice that I shaded the word branding and I highlighted as an interchangeable word the word reputation. You know why? We were the healthcare brand agency that started in 2008. What a brilliant year to start. Those of you who went through that recession can understand. Here's what we've learned along the way. When we use the term branding to doctors, there's a point of confusion. And guess what? It's my fault and those of us who are in the branding and marketing side. Really what we're talking about is this particular definition. When I interchange the word branding for it's really your reputation, doctor, and then I say it's really in a modern way who you say you are, who your patients say you are, and who Google says you are, they get it. It takes the mystique and the identity and frankly the aesthetic polish away from branding, and it puts it back where it belongs, which is trust is your currency. I love this slide. You know, pre-COVID, I would travel around the country and I would present at associations, at trade shows for medical device companies. And I always say to people, there's 2 slides which summarize what you need to know about branding, doctor. This slide is who is the second person to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean? Now, outside of those of you who are quickly Googling who's the second person to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, and you may even be a history buff, and you may recognize that this is a photo of Charles Lindbergh. So who is the second person? Nobody knows. Branding principle number 1, be first in the mindset of your ideal patient in a generous subcategory that has relevance and matters to your patient. All right. In the chat section, yeah, we've got quite a few people on this, so I'm really pleased. In the chat section, tell me what you see on this slide. I'll wait about 10 seconds before I continue, but just put in the chat section what you see in this slide, because it's branding principle number 2. Okay, I am starting to get some responses. Good. So if you're still with me, I'll give it 5 more seconds before I close it out. But the question was, what do you see in this slide? Perfect. Perfect. If you're like most people and you're picking this up, Fred, Benjamin, etc., what you're seeing is an O. Brand principle number 2 that you need to know, doctor, is different, is better. This is what patients see when they type in New Jersey orthopedic surgeon. This is what they see when they type in Orange County spine surgery or surgeon. What I want to impress upon you today is you must authentically be different to cut through the commodity jargon of every other spine surgeon or orthopedic surgeon in your territory. Okay, so there's questions around what does marketing mean and what does branding mean? I gave you the definition of branding. Now I'm going to give you a modern definition of marketing. It's simply taking somebody with a specific challenge or problem, in this tense, in parentheses, your patient, that has a specific challenge or problem, and you have the opportunity to get them to know, like, trust, and refer you. So here's what we see with private practice surgeons in traditional marketing. Copycat marketing. I challenge any of you to go to doctors' websites. Just type in orthopedic surgeon, type in a geographical area, spine surgeon, vascular, etc. Go to LinkedIn, etc. You're going to see words such as minimally invasive, excellent, solutions. You're going to see basically commodity buzzwords. It is copycat marketing, because it turns out that web development companies who design off of a template, they copy and paste the same stuff. So it's no wonder that patients are confused. Second thing that you'll notice is that doctors are quite fond of putting money on search engine optimization. I gave you my beef with SEO. There's a time and a place for search engine optimization, but not until you position yourself as authentically different. And that involves words and not money. The last thing, I know that we have several physician liaisons, several physician liaison practice managers on this call. Here's what I want to tell you is that in traditional marketing, if you are a specialty surgeon and you're reaching out to pain management or chiropractor or physical therapists, etc., it tends to be the same exact pattern. I'm being a little bit dramatic here. It's the same cookies. It's the same, ask somebody from your practice to go drop off food. The doctor will be available to talk. And that pivot has to be made. We believe that branding today can look like this. And doctors, if you're on here, I want you to hold me accountable for letting me know if you think this is relevant and it matters. Here's what we believe that you have an opportunity. Trust is your currency. And if you buy my branding premise that trust is your currency with your patients, then it's an easy follow-up to say that your reputation is literally your bank account. We have seen this over and over. If you just got one thing from my webinar today and you said, there's some dude with a majestic silver beard who told me that trust is our currency, and you framed every patient touch point around how do we build trust when we're building awareness? How do we build trust on the phone call? How do we build trust in the waiting room and then the consultation, etc.? Secondly, brand awareness builds authority. Most private practice surgeons are not investing in brand awareness. Brand awareness is your ability to understand what matters to your ideal patient. And bullet point number 3, create educational and generous sharing opportunities that ultimately build authority. Now, I've been doing this a while. And our brand agency looks carefully with our clients at the competitive landscape. And here's the truth. I know that this is going to sound rather dramatic, perhaps even a bit overconfident. You have an opportunity to simply take your most frequently asked questions, the biggest challenge or pain or confusion points of your ideal patient, and simply answer them. Answer them on your website, on social media, on phone calls. Just that basic premise of taking your most frequently asked questions. And for our clients, we've filmed it, we've recorded it, we've done patient stories. Notice that I did not use the word testimonial. Get that out of your vocabulary. And what you will see if you begin to think of content marketing as on the front end of brand awareness, just being generous with sharing her most frequently asked questions, you are ahead of the game. All right. I have to show the mandatory different is better slide in the elephant here. I want you, doctor, if you're listening to me right now, and as we begin to transition into a campaign idea that I have for you so that you can attract more ideal patients within 30 days with nothing down, no money or very little money. I want you to understand this point of trying to prove, quote unquote, that you are better in your specialty. Respectfully, you do not have enough time and you do not have enough money to stand in line and try to earn that. So why not jump to the front of the line, be authentically and compliantly and creatively different so that it aligns with building trust and wrapping those touch points around a great experience. You will be so much further ahead than everybody else. All right, we're getting ready to transition into section number 2. I've already received direct messages from many of you, and you're like, all right, I want to see where this campaign idea goes. I want to prepare you for this. So this is a campaign idea. By all means, ethically steal this. Ethically take this away. I give you my permission, and this will work. Here is what I will tell you. Whenever we do a campaign delivery idea like this that we know is a proven way to help doctors, I find that there's a hesitation on some people. And then what I will also tell you is there are some people that are like, we're going to do this. Well, before you say, I'm going to do it, put your defensive antennas up. I challenge you and I urge you to think through how I articulate this and ask yourself, how is this relevant? How is it timely? And how is it affordable? All right, let's get started. Let's talk about why you should consider having a campaign. Let me define campaign for you, because those of us who came from advertising agencies, we know what it is, but as it translates to surgeons, something gets lost in the jargon. Here is the way that I want you to think about this, doctor. I want you to think about this as taking your unique perspective or point of view that you have on being an orthopedic spine surgeon, or that you have in specializing and helping patients with neck pain or cervical. Your unique point of view, restoring the sacred relationship between physician and patient. Whatever your unique perspective is that authentically aligns with why you do what you do. Did you hear what I just said? The big idea is not what you do. Every surgeon in your market is telling patients, here's what I do. There's nothing unique about that. I go back to my earlier statement. Is it any wonder that patients are confused when every specialty surgeon is saying the same what? I want you to think through the why, Simon Sinek. Secondly, process is a word that you may not realize that is so enticing. It's a punch to the amygdala. As a behavioral science guy, what process means is it lets your patients know what they can expect next. not in clinical outcome, but step by step. Step one, pick up the phone and call us. Step two, we will set up a virtual or an on-site consultation. You see where I'm going with this? Patients in our almost 200 to 300,000 patient feedbacks that we get, new patients every month, that's their biggest beef. Their beef is that they don't know what's coming up next. It's not, my doctor was a bad doctor and my clinical outcome was bad. Rather, it's that you and your team are not communicating in a basic way, which is here's what you can expect next. Next thing is patient. I keep using this word of ideal patient, singular. Think of your ideal patient in those terms. How does she think? You notice I use the pronoun of she. I got to tell you, when I go to surgeon websites, it is dripping with hypermasculinity when all of us on this call tonight, and I want you to put this in the chat section if you agree or disagree, she is the healthcare decision maker of her family. She is the influencer in her family. So stop dripping with hypermasculinity and have beefy, muscular white guys, static stock imagery on your website and speak to her in a way that is appreciative and relevant to her. And then lastly, procedure. You'll notice that procedure is the last thing we talk about. While it is true, lots of X's and O's, thank you, Ms. Sheehan, that's right. When we think about procedure, it's the last thing that you should be focused on. So ultimately what we're doing is we're taking trust and we're building trust and we're aligning it with the way that patients make decision. So we're helping you as a surgeon go from awareness to trust and then trust to building authority. And rather than being inclusive, meaning we serve everybody, we love everybody, we'll take care of everybody, by identifying your ideal patient, you become exclusive. What we also know to be true is that for free, that's what organic means, you have the opportunity to reach your ideal patients for free and increase your local reputation. And if you choose to enter into paid advertisement, then you are getting underpriced attention, certainly during COVID, that guarantees you eyeballs on a particular perspective or procedure. Here it is. Here it is. I'm going to break through every single step. There's going to be 4 components. This is what I'm calling hashtag be patient. Hashtag is a popular term. If you're a doctor and you may not know what that realize, hashtag is a way to frame a conversation, like-minded conversation. In this case, you'll notice the play on words. Be patient. We're asking patients to be patient. Let me say it another way. Be patient. Be a patient. So you can see the creativity in the hashtag. So here's the first thing that you're going to do. You're going to go to your website and you're going to conduct an audit. Any web designer worth their salt can fix this in 10 minutes. And if they charge you for this, you send them to me. You're going to audit the photos. I jokingly refer to this as remove the photos of a bunch of smiling people touching each other. Be sensitive. Do not be tone deaf. While it is true that we see light at the end of the tunnel, transition-wise, this is a good time for you to audit your photos, be representative of her, and look for photos that are representative of your ideal patient. I want you to audit that copy. I want you to ask yourself, do we have anything in there about COVID? Do we have anything in there about we are open for business? Do you have anything in there that uses the singular empathy statement of we understand it's been challenging, ... and here is why, ... You see where I'm going with this? We're making it so that your website is no longer tone deaf. Many of you have not done anything with your website. You're going to come, flip the switch on, it's going to look and feel the same way. Then what I am suggesting is you pick up your phone. Don't hire my agency. Don't hire a fancy agency. Pick up the phone and ideally you, doctor, you're going to speak into the phone and you're going to say exactly what you have in writing. We understand it's been challenging. We are ready to safely provide access to receive patients. Here's the precautions that we have taken. Here is why it is safe for you to return to our care. You see where I'm going with this, okay? So on this step one that you see here on the slide, what that will do for you is it will begin to build empathy. And empathy transcends to awareness. And if you grow in awareness where your patients are like, wow, just that basic step, you would be shocked at how many surgeons are not doing this. It's the same tone deaf website pre-COVID, and you'll begin to develop authority. Now let's look at step two. Step one should take your web designer no more than 15 minutes. And video-wise, doctor, don't fall into the trap of perfection over progress. This is the time for it to be gritty. This is the time for you, literally with an iPhone, which shoots at 4K resolution or 1080 resolution at worst, for you to speak and to lean in and connect with her. All right. What you're going to do is I am telling you to use the tagline, #BePatient. If you live in Louisville, Kentucky, then make it relevant to Louisville. If you live in beautiful Big Apple, put #BePatient NYC. You see where I'm going with the geographical reference. What I want you to do is I want you to send an email to all of your patients. Send an email that says, we have developed a post-COVID consultation. It can be done virtually or where appropriate, where legal, where necessary, it can be done in person. Let me tell you why I talk about the person thing. Telemedicine is not a strategy. Too many surgeons are treating it as a strategy. It's simply a necessary means of communication. So I don't want you to think of this as just a strategy. While it does provide access for patients, I want you to do something counterintuitive for me. I want, if safe, if legal, if appropriate, I want you to bring patients into your office when appropriate. And the reason why is because your staff and team need to remind themselves what it was like to care for a community of patients. Your patients are craving contact, even if it's within a safe distance, just a human touch. Don't overlook this telemedicine to create a barrier when a touch, when a remark, when, just a virtual handshake will do. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to contact your local media. Better yet, doctor, I want you to pick up the phone. It is not difficult to contact your local media and say, I, Dr. Scott, one of the things that we saw that was a challenge for our patients was understanding what is the exact process or the safe next steps to be treated in whatever your specialty is, orthopedic, neurosurgery. Here's why this is key. The media is looking for a ready-to-go story. I promise you, you're going to be the only doctor who picks up the phone and says, hey, there's a real need for people in Olympia, Washington, in New Jersey, wherever, to understand this aspect of elective surgery has stopped, and we are now taking the necessary precautions to care for people. And here's what it looks like. And in fact, we have a #BePatient NYC post-COVID consultation. If you are with me, or if you think I am just crazy, put that in the chat section. I'm going to wrap this up because I want to be respectful of your time. What I am recommending is if you really want to get fancy and spend something like, I'm not even making this up, $30 a day on guaranteed paid awareness on platform such as Facebook, and you want to target females, the state of New Jersey, who have literally drilled down to back pain, I want you to go on to social media, even if you've got 3 people following you, and I want you to pay $20, $30. It's super cheap right now. go through the targeting process of reaching her and make her aware. No gating, no crazy hoops to jump through to say, at hashtag BePatientNYC, we understand the challenges and we are here ready to meet the need. So you've done that. You've generated buzz. You will get consultations. Now, why am I making such a big deal of a consultation? It's because every other surgeon in town, they are skipping the consultation and they are going straight to either doing nothing, just as it was before, business as usual, or B, they're skipping to distal radius, laminectomy, whatever the procedure is, meniscus arrow, when the consultation is your pivot. I hate to use the word sales, but I'm telling you, you must sell the consultation. Consultation is the pivot point for you. It is the easiest way for you to get new patients. It's to wrap up your sensitivity, your perspective, your unique process, your unique protocol into something as accepted and as basic as a consultation. And then have those patients go to family and friends and say, can you believe it? Dr. Scott has a consultation that is oriented towards transitioning from quarantine to safely transitioning into my hurts and my pains and what's next. All right. So those patients will come in. Immediate post-consultation, you can or you should have an automated review system. Doctor, it's the most inexpensive way is to develop an automated way so that your staff, your team doesn't have to hassle with asking people old school, hey, can you give us a review? Immediately post-consultation, you should have an automated software. They're out there. If you need help, in full transparency, we offer one, but if you want open-ended guidance, you can set up a 15-minute consult. I have provided that link in the web page. You'll see it on the chat section. And what I want you to know is that you should be getting hundreds of reviews. When I see doctors getting 4 reviews and they've been in practice for 8, 9 years, it's just because you don't have a system. Google will punish or reward you for reviews. Now let's take a moment. Let's interchange the word review with reputation. Patient reviews may not be your cup of tea, but I know you care about your reputation. Google and Google My Business is the king of getting you found. You may think that Health Grades and ZocDoc and all this other stuff is the way to go. Hey, Mrs. Jones is going on to Google and she's typing in spine surgeon or spine surgery, Tulsa, Oklahoma. If she's doing long tail keywords such as cervical spine surgery, Orange County, you need to be showing up. The cheapest way to do that is to have hundreds of reviews and it's social proof. And then here's a creative idea for you. I want your team to take their mobile phone out. What you may not know is your mobile phone contains pinpoint location guidance, longitude and latitude. There are location settings on your phone. Have a fun outing. Inside your practice, I want you to snap photos of your team. I want you to go to the exterior part of your practice, snap photos with your team. You're going to upload 15 photos to your Google My Business page. What you don't realize is the longitude and latitude from the upload of where you took those photos, they're going to trigger Google. It's something that people overlook. Combined with all the new hundreds of reviews post-consultation, again, there's no distinguishing difference. If you get a 5-star review from Mrs. Jones for this, thank goodness that Dr. Smith cared enough to provide a contextual consultation. Trust me on the creativity of the consultation, okay? All right, I have surpassed my time. You are looking at this slide which shows that campaign. If you want to, you don't have to spend a penny. If you wanted to spend $30 a day on a targeted paid awareness campaign where guaranteed eyeballs are going to see you based on geography, based on socio, based on cultural, based on preferences, you can do that. In closing, I appreciate all of you being on here. I semi-apologize for being 8 minutes over. I really value your time. And one of the things that I want to do as somebody who delivers value is I want to cut the fluff out, cut out the sales puffery, give you creative ideas that maybe you have not thought of. To be honest with you, maybe even ideas that you disagree with. I would rather be tactfully polarizing than boringly neutral. So this concludes my presentation. We are a healthcare brand agency that comes from advertising, that comes from the medical device, and specializes in private practice. We got a bunch of fancy trophies and awards that collectively our team has accumulated. All that means is that we exclusively focus on surgeons. During COVID, we're busy enough that we just work with private practice surgeons. And increasingly, we're getting more and more calls from medical distributorships that want to think, act, pivot, and perform like an entrepreneurial organization. And if you're a doctor, I recognize some of the names on here. You should be proud of the fact that you've got distributors that are protecting you. You got distributors that are direct messaging me and other people who do this for a living, and they're asking for help. They're saying, will you help my surgeon? They're not asking, hey, what do you have to sell? They're saying, will you serve my surgeons and give them your guidance? And I just want to recognize all of those distributorships. The next step that you have is you can download the handouts. This exact slide deck with this exact campaign, it is there for you. The last call to action is I provided a link to my calendar. It's a 15-minute schedule. I put it in the link session of the chat. If you want to speak with me, I give you 15 minutes. I don't mean that in a scarcity tactic. I just mean that 15 minutes means that you and I get to the point of what your challenge is or what your question is. And so I think you can respect that. If you can imagine during COVID, my day is blocked out into 15-minute increments. We hop on a Zoom call. You see the majestic beard. I talk to you. We get to the heart of what your challenge is and what are the logical next steps. So in closing, thank you for being here. I know that you've got families and you've got dinner time and you've got kids and all of that. And I respect and appreciate your time. And you'll also get a copy of this recording so that you can listen to it again. So in the chat section, I hope that you let me know that you at least got one thing of value here, and that feel free for those of you that put the time in to show up. If you want to schedule a 15-minute chat with me, you click on that calendar link. I will show up on time, and hopefully I won't go over late like I did today. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.